Aaron sat in the briefing room with a straight back and steady eyes. The sound of machines hummed around him. The war had lasted for years, and every soldier had a role to play. He had trained for combat on the battlefield he imagined charging into. The fight carrying his rifle side by side with other human fighters, but today his orders were different, and that left him uneasy. Commander entered the room, a tall man with lines of stress carved into his face. His voice was steady as he handed Aaron a small datapad. Your assignment is not the front. You will guard the alien prisoner. Aaron looked down at the datapad. The words made no sense to him. Prisoner, he thought of supply runs. He thought of wounded soldiers needing escort. He had never imagined he would be asked to guard someone locked in a room, much less someone from the enemy. The commander must have read his doubt. He added, this is no ordinary captive. She is Mira, daughter of the Zeroth Queen. Her safety is more important than any of us. Understand, you will not question orders. You will protect her as if your own life depends on it. Terran nodded. Though his chest felt tight, he wanted to argue. He wanted to ask why they did not use more experienced guards, but he was a soldier. And soldiers did not debate orders. He rose and saluted. Then he walked out with the datapad heavy in his hand. The base was quiet that night. The stars beyond the shields shone cold. The war had burned countless worlds, but here on this outpost there was silence. Aaron walked through the halls until he reached a reinforced chamber. 2 guards stood aside and allowed him in. The cell was not dark like he imagined. It was simple. A small table, a bed, and a wall of clear energy that kept the captive. Inside, on the other side, sat Mira. Her silver skin glowed faintly under the lights. Her eyes sharp, yet calm, lifted to meet him. She wore a plain robe. No signs of royalty remained, only her pride. For a long moment they stared at each other. Aaron felt the weight of her gaze. He knew she was not just another enemy. She was the symbol of the Zoroth Empire. If anything happened to her, the war would change. He stood firm and spoke with a plain voice. I am Aaron. I will guard you, nothing more, nothing less. Mira did not reply. Her lips pressed together. Her gaze moved away as if he were unworthy of her attention. The first days passed slowly. Aaron sat outside the barrier watching, while Mira kept to herself. She refused the human food offered. She sat with her back straight, refusing to sleep. When he watched her, silence filled the room, heavier than weapons. Aaron thought of the battles outside, planets burning, friends lost.
Ow.
He wondered if those who died would laugh to know he was watching over the enemies. Daughter, yet orders were orders. He did his duty quietly and without complaint. One evening he noticed she had not touched the meal tray. Hunger would come sooner or later. Still she held her pride. Aaron set his own pack on the floor and pulled out a small piece of dried bread. He sat close to the barrier and broke it, slowly letting the scent spread through the room. You cannot starve forever, he said. His tone was calm, without anger. Food is food. No one can fight against hunger. Myra's eyes flicked toward the bread for a moment, then away. Her silence remained. Aaron sighed. He ate slowly, letting each bite show he was not mocking her, but sharing. He finished without offering again. The next night, he repeated the act. This time, Mira's gaze lingered longer. He placed half the bread near the energy wall. Without a word, he returned to his seat. The silence stretched heavy, but after an hour, the bread was gone. He pretended not to notice. In the days that followed, she began to eat more often. Always silent, never thanking, but Aaron did not expect thanks. His role was simple, to guard and protect. Yet he felt the tension in the room soften just a little. Laren had never spoken to Zoroth face to face before. He had only seen them from across battlefields. He remembered the briefings that painted them as merciless beings without mercy. But now, sitting across from Mira, he saw a young woman forced into a cage. She had her pride, but also her loneliness. Late one night he heard her voice, soft and careful. Why do you guard me? Soldier, her words surprised him. He sat straighter. I was ordered to, that is all she asked. As all she answered, Mira lowered her gaze to the floor. For the first time, she seemed smaller, less like a royal figure, and more like a person carrying heavy weight. She whispered, my people would never let a human guard a queen's daughter. They would see it as weakness. Aaron thought about that. He said, maybe that is why we are different. The barrier hummed softly between them. Mira looked at him again, her eyes unreadable. She said nothing more that night, but the silence was no longer cold each day. Aaron felt the mission changing. At first it was only duty now. It felt like a test. He was not only protecting her body, he was protecting the chance that something greater might come of this. That thought made him restless. He did not know if his commanders understood what they had asked of him. Still he remained faithful to his post. He rose early, trained in the small gym, ate plain food, and returned to the chamber. Myra sometimes paced the room like a caged bird, sometimes sat quietly staring at the stars through the single window. Aaron found himself wondering what she thought of when she looked out. Did she miss her home? Did she dream of freedom? One afternoon alarms rang through the base. Aaron stood instantly, rifle ready. But the threat was only a drill. The officers ran tests often to keep soldiers alert. Mira had watched him leap to action, her lips curved faintly in what might have been a smile. "You are quick for someone who sits all day," she said. Aaron gave a small nod. "Training never ends." Her eyes softened slightly. That was the first time she had spoken without sharpness. He realized that every word she gave was a step closer to trust. The first week ended, and Aaron knew his life had changed. He was not on the battlefield spilling blood. He was in a silent room guarding a symbol of the enemy empire, and yet this quiet task might carry more weight than all the battles fought outside. He understood now that wars were not only won by weapons, but also by choices made in silence. That night he sat near the barrier again. Mira watched him with cautious eyes. He spoke calmly. "I will keep you safe. Whether you speak to me or not, that is my promise." She did not answer, but for the first time, she did not turn away. Her eyes lingered on him, as if measuring his words. The silence felt different, no longer heavy but thoughtful, and closed his eyes and rested against the wall. Duty had brought him here. Fate would decide what followed. But in his heart he knew this mission was the beginning of something larger than he could yet imagine. Aaron woke before the artificial lights brightened in the base. He stretched his arms and washed his face with cold water. His routine never changed. He ate a plain breakfast in silence, then returned to his post at the chamber door inside the chamber. Mira sat by the window. As always, her silver skin caught the glow of the rising lights. Her eyes stayed fixed on the stars. Aaron wondered what she thought each morning. Did she think of her people? Did she think of escape? For days she had spoken only a few words. Sometimes she asked about his duty or why he followed orders, but mostly she remained quiet. Aaron did not push her. He knew forcing words from her would only build walls. He had learned in training that patience was as important as strength. He sat in his chair and placed his rifle on his lap. His gaze stayed calm, though he noticed every detail of her movements. She ate the food they brought, now, never much, but enough to keep her steady when she ate. She did so carefully, as if refusing to appear weak in front of him. Hours passed like this until finally Mira spoke, her voice low but clear. "Tell me, Aaron, why do humans fight us so fiercely?" The question surprised him. He looked up from his rifle. He answered slowly, "Because we must survive. We cannot give our worlds to the Zoroth." Mira tilted her head. Her eyes studied him. "Survive? You think we are only here to destroy you?" "That is how it has been," he replied. "Your fleets burn our colonies. Your soldiers land on our soil. What else are we to believe?" Mira was silent for a long time. Her fingers traced the edge of the table. She said softly, "My mother tells us that humans will never stop expanding, that if we do not act first, we will be pushed." A Sideran frowned. He had heard similar words from human leaders, except reversed. Each side claimed the other would not stop. Each side believed it was only defending itself. He leaned forward a little. "Maybe both sides fear the same thing." Mira looked at him as though she had never considered that idea. Her lips parted, then closed again. She did not argue. She simply turned back to the window over. The next days their talks grew longer. Mira began asking small questions about human life. She wanted to know what food he liked, what games children played on Earth, what songs were sung at festivals. Aaron answered simply. He spoke of forests where trees grew tall, of rivers that ran clear. He spoke of crowded markets full of colors and voices. When he described his home, Mira listened with stillness. Her eyes shone as though she could see the places in her mind. She whispered, "Your world sounds alive. Ours is full of iron and fire.
Oh, we build cities that scrape the clouds.
But we forget the quiet beauty you speak." Aaron felt a shift inside him, hearing her words made him realize that even the enemy longed for peace and beauty. He wondered if Mira ever dreamed of walking in those forests of Earth-1. Evening, a storm shook the outpost. The shield around the base flickered, and the wind howled through. The metal walls, the chamber lights dimmed. Aaron stood ready in case of power failure. Myra sat calmly on her bed watching him. "Do you not fear the storm?" she asked. Cern shook his head. "I have seen worse on Earth storms. They are wild yet beautiful. The ground shakes, the sky roars, but then the sun returns." Myra's eyes softened. "My people see storms as omens. When the sky breaks, it is said to be the voice of destiny." Aaron repeated quietly, "Do you believe in it?" She looked at him for a long time, then nodded. "Perhaps destiny has brought us both here. You guard me, though we should be enemies." Aaron thought of that through the night. When the storm ended, silence returned, but his mind remained restless. The next day, Mira surprised him again. She asked about his family. Aaron hesitated, then told her about his younger brother who trained as a mechanic, his mother who waited for news from the front. He admitted he missed them, but duty kept him far away. Mira listened closely, and for the first time her expression showed warmth. "I to have family," she said. "I have a younger sister. She is gentle and curious. I miss her voice every day." Her birds felt heavy in the air. For the first time, Aaron realized that the alien princess was not just a symbol or an enemy. She was a daughter, a sister, someone who carried her own griefs from then. On their talks became easier. Myra began to show more of herself. She laughed lightly when Aaron told her about children racing on hoverboards in the city. She grew serious when he described hunger in refugee camps. She shook her head and whispered, "Why do leaders let this happen?" Anand did not know the answer. He had wondered the same countless times. One night he found her sitting by the barrier staring at him instead of the stars, her gaze steady, her voice low. "You are not like the others. I expected cruelty, yet you show patience." Aaron looked into her eyes. "Because cruelty builds nothing," he said. "If I must guard you, then I will guard you with honor. That is the only way I know." Mira studied his face long and hard. Then she turned away, but he noticed her shoulders relax. For the first time, she seemed at peace. Days turned into weeks. The rhythm of life at the outpost stayed the same. Soldiers, trained officers, planned missions, ships came and went. But inside the chamber, a quiet bond formed between guard and captive. Aaron never forgot his duty. He kept his rifle near. He never lowered his guard. Yet within his heart, he felt something new. A sense that this mission mattered beyond orders. It was not only about keeping Mira alive. It was about proving that even enemies could see each other as people. One afternoon, a group of officers came to inspect the prisoner. They spoke in harsh tones to Mira, demanding answers she would not give. Aaron stood silently, but he felt anger rising as they treated her like a creature rather than a person. When they left, Mira's eyes found him. She whispered, "Thank you for not joining them. My follow." "Orders," Aaron replied, but his voice was firm. "I will not treat you without respect." She nodded slowly as if sealing an unspoken pact. Night, the stars outside seemed brighter. Mira sat close to the barrier. She spoke of her homeworld where the skies burned red at sunset, where great crystal towers reflected light across the oceans. She described festivals of song and glowing lights drifting into the air. Aaron listened and smiled softly. "Your world sounds alive too," he said for the first time. Mira smiled fully at him. The sight surprised him and made her seem less alien and more like a girl of his own age, caught between duty and dreams. Then their silence was no longer heavy. It was comfortable. They could sit for hours without speaking, yet feel no distance. The room that once felt like a prison now felt like a bridge still. Aaron knew danger could come at any time. He sharpened his focus each day, but he also knew that something inside Mira was changing. She no longer looked at him as her captor. She looked at him as someone she could speak to, someone she could trust. Her and lay awake that night staring at the ceiling. He thought about her smile, about her questions, about the way she longed for peace. He did not understand why fate had placed him here, but he knew deep inside that this mission was shaping not just his future, but perhaps the future of both their worlds. The days at the outpost moved with a slow rhythm. Soldiers followed. Routine drills, officers spoke in sharp voices over comms. Aaron kept his watch over Mira each morning and night. It had become more than duty. He could see changes in her. She no longer sat in silence for endless hours. She asked questions. She told him small stories of her home, Her pride remained, but her eyes had softened her anew. Something was building between them, though he could not name it. It was not friendship, not yet trust, but something unspoken, a fragile line that grew stronger each day. The base itself seemed calm, but war was never far. Aaron could sense it in the tension of the officers who came and went. He overheard words about fleets moving about attacks on nearby systems. The Zorith Empire was not finished with its campaign. The humans fought with desperate strength. Each side looked for any advantage. That evening the alarms rang for real, not drills. The red lights flashed across the halls. The sound of sirens shook the walls. Aaron stood instantly, rifle in hand. He pressed a code into the door and stepped inside Mira's chamber. She was already standing by the barrier, her eyes wide with alarm. "What is happening?" she asked. Aaron answered, "Enemy forces trying to break through." The lights dimmed as explosions rattled the outpost. Dust shook from the ceiling. Aaron tightened his grip on the rifle. Myra pressed her hands against the barrier, her voice sharp. "Release me. I can stop them. They came from Iran." Hesitated. He knew she was right. If the raiders reached her chamber, they would tear down walls to find her, but releasing her could mean betrayal. She might run, he might fail his mission. The ceiling shook again. Metal-groaned soldiers shouted outside. Aaron's instinct screamed, "Protect her, not the chamber, not the orders." Her life mattered. He pressed the release control. The barrier shimmered, then vanished. Mira stepped free for the first time since capture. She stood taller than before her presence, commanding, yet Aaron noticed her first glance was not toward the door, but toward him. "Stay close," he ordered, his voice firm. She gave a single nod. The chamber door burst open. A group of raiders rushed inside. They wore Zorith armor, their weapons raised. Their eyes locked on Mira. For a heartbeat they froze, seeing her free. Then they fired and moved without thought. He stepped in front of Mira, his rifle blazing. The room shook with flashes of fire. He struck 2 raiders down before they could reach her. A third rushed forward, blade in hand. Aaron blocked with the butt of his rifle and shoved the alien back. Mira lifted a fallen weapon and swung with surprising force. The raider crumpled. The fight was chaos. Smoke filled the chamber. Alarms screamed. The remaining raiders pulled back, hurling explosives into the hall. Aaron grabbed Mira's arm and pulled her behind cover. The blast shook the floor plates. "We cannot stay here," he shouted. "We move." Now Mira nodded. She followed as Aaron led her through the smoke-filled corridors. Soldiers clashed in the halls. Humans against Zorith raiders. The walls blazed with gunfire. Aaron moved with sharp focus, his training guiding every step. Mira stayed close, her movements fast, though unarmed. She carried herself with the strength of someone born to command. At one turn, a raider blocked their path. He raised his weapon, but Mira stepped forward. She spoke in her own language, her voice cutting sharp and strong. The raider froze, shock filling his eyes. "Queens daughter," he whispered. His grip faltered long enough for Aaron to fire. The path cleared. Mira glanced at him briefly. "I told him who I am," she said. "It was enough, Aaron." He said nothing. He only kept moving, guiding her toward the secure sector of the base. They reached a blast door guarded by 2 human soldiers. The soldiers raised their weapons at Myra, confusion in their eyes. Aaron barked, "Stand down. She is under my protection." The soldiers hesitated, but the alarms and chaos pressed them to obey. They opened the blast door, and Aaron pulled Mira inside the chamber, sealed shut, leaving only the echo of distant battles. Aaron leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Mira's eyes searched his face. "You risked your life for me again," she said. Wire and wiped sweat from his brow. "Because you were my charge, I swore to guard you." Her voice softened, "But you could have let them take me. You chose not." Toiron met her gaze, steady and unshaken. "I will not see anyone helplessly cut down. Not even you." Silence stretched between them, long and heavy. Mira's eyes held something new. Park that had not been there before. She whispered, "You are not what I was taught about humans." Before Aaron could answer, the door shook under the force of another blast. The raiders were not finished. Aaron raised his rifle and steadied himself. He spoke quickly, "When the door breaks, we fight together. Stay behind." Mira shook her head firmly. "No, I stand with youth." Door split open, and smoke filled the room again. Raiders poured in. Aaron fired without hesitation, his shots precise, his movements sharp. Mira grabbed a fallen blade from the floor. Her strikes were swift, fueled not by training but by will. She fought with him back to back. The battle stretched like hours, though it was only minutes when the last raider fell. Silence returned. Aaron lowered his weapon. Breathing hard, Mira stood beside him, the blade still in her hand. Her robe torn, her silver skin marked with dust, yet her eyes glowed fierce. Together they had survived moments. Later, human reinforcements rushed and officers shouted orders. Soldiers secured the room. Mira and Aaron stood side by side. The officers looked stunned to see the alien princess free, yet alive, more stunned to see her holding a weapon as though she had fought alongside them. The commander arrived, his face lined with shock. He looked at Aaron first, then at Mira. He demanded an explanation, and stood straight. He said, "Raiders came for her. I released her to save her life. She fought beside me. We held my L. The chamber until reinforcements came." The commander's eyes hardened, but he saw the truth before him. He gave no praise, no smile, only a curt nod. "Secure the prisoner again," he ordered. Mira's face stiffened. Her eyes flicked to Aaron for a moment. Before she allowed herself to be led back to the reinforced chamber, she said nothing, but her silence spoke louder than words. She had seen Aaron risk his life for her twice now. She had fought at his side. She could not forget that when the chamber sealed once more, Aaron stood outside as before, but something inside him had changed. He was no longer just a guard following orders. He had become the shield that kept her alive through the clear wall. Mira sat down on her bed. Slowly she looked at Aaron, and for the first time, she gave him a true nod of respect. It was small, but it carried weight. He nodded back without words. The alarms faded. The base returned to tense, quiet, yet nothing was the same anymore. Aaron knew that Mira no longer saw him as just a guard, and he no longer saw her as just a captive. They had survived together. That bond would not be broken. Easily that night, as Aaron kept his post in the dim glow of the chamber, Mira's voice reached him softly through the silence. "You could have let them take me. You could have lived, but you chose to stand between me and death." And replied quietly, "I will always stand when someone needs protection. That is who I am." Her eyes held his through the barrier, steady and searching. At last she whispered, "Then perhaps you are the first human I can trust." Said nothing more, but inside he felt the weight of her words. He did not know what would come next, but he knew this night had changed everything for him, for her, and perhaps for the war itself. Word of Aaron's actions spread quickly through the Zorath ranks and human command alike. The daring way he had protected Mira and fought alongside her had reached the ears of the Zorath queen herself. The queen had ruled with an iron hand for decades. She valued strength and loyalty above all else. Nothing escaped her attention, and nothing went unchallenged. A human soldier protecting her daughter. She had to see it for herself. Haran received orders to prepare for a formal meeting with the queen. Hugh was to travel under heavy escort through secure corridors of the alien vessel now docked nearby. His mind was calm, yet alert. He had faced battles before, but never a situation like this. Meeting the ruler of the Zorath Empire was not part of any training manual. He walked through long halls lined with glowing panels and alien symbols. Mira accompanied him. She walked with her head high, her silver skin gleaming under the artificial light. She had not spoken much since their return to her ship, but her presence was commanding and focused. The queen's chamber was immense, with high ceilings that shimmered with energy. Her throne sat atop a platform of black crystal, glowing faintly from within. The guards parted as they entered, and Aaron felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon him. The queen rose from her throne, her presence radiating authority. She studied Aaron from head to toe, her eyes sharp and calculating. Mira stood beside her with quiet grace. "You are the human who protected my daughter." The queen's voice was strong but not cruel. It held a tone of curiosity. Aaron bowed slightly. "I am Aaron. I was assigned to guard her, and I completed my duty." The queen's gaze did not waver. She took a step closer and studied him closer. "Do you understand the importance of your actions?" he asked. "Ty? Believe I do," he replied calmly. "I ensured her safety. I did what was right." The queen paused for a long moment. Then she spoke. "Mira has told me little of what happened, yet enough to know you risked your life for her." She looked at Aaron thoughtfully. "Tell me why you did this." Siren met her gaze steadily. "I have trained to fight and to survive, Yet when faced with a helpless person, I could not stand aside. Death does not bring honor when it is forced upon someone unable to defend themselves. I acted because it was the only right choice. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. She was used to threats and obedience, never reasoning, yet here was a human explaining his choice without fear. Yet without arrogance, she considered him carefully. His words carried weight, even if his species had fought against hers for generations. Spira stepped forward, her voice quiet but firm. Mother, he said nothing more than what you have heard. He kept me safe and fought beside me. The queen's expression softened imperceptibly. She looked at her daughter and then back at Aaron. His calmness and honesty had a power she did not expect. Perhaps strength was more than weapons and armies. Perhaps there was merit and honor alone. You are a soldier, not a diplomat, the queen said finally. You have no place in my court, yet your actions speak of something greater. I wonder if humans may be more than the enemy we believe. I nodded slightly. I am aware of my place, your majesty. I only did what I must. The queen sat back upon her throne, her eyes never leaving him. She spoke again. You will remain under my observation for now. Your conduct may prove useful in the times to come. Moran inclined his head. I will comply. For the first time, Mira felt a warmth inside her. She had watched her mother lead with unyielding command for years, yet now she saw hesitation, curiosity, and respect. She turned to Aaron and whispered softly, "Thank you." He only nodded, his eyes focused on the queen. The tension in the chamber remained, but it was no longer hostile. The queen continued to speak. Mira has told me humans often kill without hesitation. Your actions show restraint, courage, and reason that is rare even among my own people. What do you know of honor? In thought for a moment. I believe honor is doing what is right even when no one is watching. Even when it costs you something valuable. The queen's gaze shifted to her daughter. Myra watched closely. Her mother's expression held no anger, only a quiet consideration. She studied Aaron again, then she spoke. Mira's words carried truth. Humans can be cruel, yet they can also show loyalty and courage. This is unusual enough to merit attention. She rose from her throne and moved closer to Aaron. He remained still, yet did not shrink. Her voice softened only slightly. Your loyalty and courage will not be forgotten. I will decide what is best, but understand this. You have changed the way I see the human. Rezarin nodded silently. His heart remained steady, though he knew the words carried immense weight. The queen turned to Myra now. Her voice commanded and gentle at the same time. You must tell me everything you have seen since your capture. Myra stepped forward and spoke carefully. She recounted the events of the raid, the way Aaron had shielded her, how they fought together. She described the fear and determination in his eyes. She told her mother that she had never seen a human act with such restraint or compassion. The queen listened intently. Each detail sharpened her thoughts. Each word made her question what she had believed about humans. She had been told all humans were violent, selfish, and untrustworthy, yet here was evidence to the contrary. Aaron remained silent as Mira spoke. He did not need to add anything. His actions spoke louder than any words could. Mira finished. The queen turned her eyes back to him. You are unusual, he said. A human who protects rather than attacks, who values life. Even among enemies, this is rare and perhaps dangerous in its own way. And met her gaze steadily. I only do what is right. The queen paused. She looked at him as if weighing a decision that had consequences far beyond the chamber walls. I have spent my life ruling through strength and fear, yet perhaps there is wisdom and strength guided by honor. You have shown me that humans may be capable of more than destruction. They may be capable of understanding. Aaron remained still, letting her consider her thoughts. He did not speak further. He had learned that words sometimes mattered less than action. Finally, the queen turned back to Mira. Her voice was firm but measured. I will not forget what has happened here. Neither your daughter nor her protector will be treated lightly, but I must consider the implications of your actions. Carefully, Myra bowed slightly to her mother and then glanced at Aaron. She did not speak, but her eyes said more than words could. She trusted him to stay calm. She trusted him to remain honest, and felt a quiet respect grow inside him for the queen. She was strong, wise, and capable, yet even she could be swayed by honor and courage. The thought gave him hope. Perhaps even in war it was possible to change minds through actions rather than violence. The queen finally spoke again. You will remain under observation for the time being. Your duty will continue. I will decide what comes next. I have seen enough to know that you are not like the others. Aaron inclined his head. He remained steady, yet inside he felt a strange weight lift. His honor had been recognized by the leader of the enemy empire. His actions had meaning beyond orders, beyond duty. Mira approached him quietly and whispered softly, "You have earned." Her respecter said nothing, but gave her a small nod. The silence between them was now comfortable, filled with understanding that night. Aaron returned to his post outside the chamber. He thought about the queen's words about honor and courage. He thought about Mira and the bond forming between them. He knew that the war outside still raged, yet inside the chamber he had witnessed a small victory. One of understanding and respect. He glanced at Mira, sitting calmly inside her room. She did not speak. She only watched him with quiet eyes that held gratitude and trust. The mission had become more than guarding a prisoner. It had become a bridge between worlds. For the first time, Aaron believed that perhaps humans and Zorath were not destined only to fight. Perhaps they could learn from one another. Perhaps one soldier's courage could change the hearts of many. Aaron kept his watch that night, silently prepared for any threat. Yet inside he felt a quiet hope, a sense that the choices made in courage and honor had power even greater than weapons or fleets. Queen's decision had not yet been final, but one thing was certain: Aaron's actions had left a mark. That mark would shape the coming days and perhaps one day lead to a future where humans and Zorath might understand one another beyond fear and hatred. The council chamber of the Zoroth Queen was alive with tension and anticipation. Soldiers, diplomats, and advisors filled the room. Their eyes were fixed on the two humans who had arrived with Aaron, though the real focus remained on the human himself. Aaron stood straight, his gaze calm, but inside he felt the weight of the moment pressing upon him. The war outside had not stopped. Ships hovered in orbit, battles still raged across distant worlds. And yet here, within these walls, a far more delicate struggle was unfolding. The queen entered, her presence commanding immediate silence. Her silver crown gleamed under the light, a symbol of power and authority. Yet there was something softer in her eyes today. She moved slowly to the center of the chamber, Mira by her side. Mira's hand brushed lightly against Aaron's arm, not touching him fully, but offering a quiet connection of reassurance. He met her gaze briefly and nodded. She understood. This was not just about him. This was about the potential for trust and understanding between two warring civilizations. "Aaron," the queen began, her voice firm but measured, "you have shown courage, loyalty, and honor in a way that is unusual among your kind. You have protected my daughter, fought beside her, and faced death without hesitation. Your actions have not gone unnoticed." She paused, her eyes scanning the room, resting finally on him. "I must make a choice regarding your future." Aaron stood silently, allowing the weight of her words to sink in. His training had prepared him for battles, not for decisions made by rulers, yet he remained steady. His mind traced every step of the past weeks. Every moment he had chosen duty and honor over fear. Every time he had shielded Myra without question. The queen raised her hand in motion to the advisors. "We have received messages from the human command. They demand the return of this soldier. They recognize his bravery, but claim that he is needed in your forces." Her eyes narrowed slightly. They do not understand the significance of his choices here. They only see the orders he follows, not the principles he embodies. Myra stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "Mother, he is not merely a soldier. He is a human who understands responsibility and honor. He fought beside me. He saved my life. Deserves more than to be returned as a pawn to continue the war." Her words carried power not because she commanded them, but because she spoke truth. The chamber fell silent. Even the advisors seemed caught by the strength of her statement. The queen studied her daughter and looked back at Aaron. "You have changed something, both within her and within me. A human who acts without malice, who values life beyond orders, it is rare." She paused, the faint glow of her crystal throne reflecting in her eyes. "And yet, to keep you here is to defy your own people. To release you is to risk what may be lost. You stand at the center of two worlds. Aaron's heart beat steadily. He had not sought this position, yet he understood the significance. He could be a bridge, a symbol that war was not the only path forward. His voice remained calm, carrying only truth. Your Majesty, I do not seek reward or position. I follow duty and conscience. My choice is to protect life wherever it may be threatened. The Queen considered his words. Your humility strengthens my resolve, she said finally. Have earned my respect, and not only my respect, but the trust of my people. And yet, the human command will not understand this. They will demand your return. She moved closer to him, her eyes softening slightly. For the good of both worlds, I refuse to release you. You will remain here with me and with your new duties until we see the path forward. This is not a punishment, but an acknowledgement of your importance. Myra's eyes widened, and she reached for Aaron's hand gently. Stay not as a guard, but as a partner, she whispered. Together we can help both sides see what is possible. You have changed my life, and now you can change ours. Aaron looked at her, then at the Queen, and he understood the depth of what had been offered. It was trust, yes, but also responsibility. His actions had elevated him from mere soldier to a symbol of hope. I accept, he said, quietly but firmly. If my presence can help end the suffering and bring understanding, I will stay. A ripple of murmurs spread across the chamber, but the Queen raised her hand and silence returned. Let it be. Known, she said, that this human, Aaron, will remain under my protection and guidance. He is not a captive. He is a witness, a counselor, and a bridge. Any who oppose this will answer to me. Her voice resonated with finality. The decision brought a strange calm over the room. The soldiers who had once seen him as merely a human guard now viewed him with new respect. Myra's presence beside him felt like a quiet affirmation that this was the right path. In the days that followed, Aaron adapted to his new role. He was no longer just a guard, but an advisor and teacher. He trained soldiers in strategies that emphasized protection and restraint, shared knowledge of human tactics and philosophy, and slowly built bridges of understanding. Myra observed and learned, her curiosity and intelligence shaping new ideas for her people. Together, they became a team, their bond growing beyond words. Despite the looming war outside, within the chambers and training halls, a different kind of battle was being waged, the battle to foster understanding and respect between humans and Zoreth. Aaron had proven that courage and honor were universal, that empathy and restraint were not weaknesses but strengths. His presence inspired both sides to reconsider their assumptions. One evening, as the twin suns set over the horizon of the Zoreth, homeworld Myra and Aaron stood on a balcony overlooking the vast cities and fleets. The sky was painted with soft pinks and purples, and the energy of the cities below hummed with life. Myra spoke softly. Do you see what we can achieve? You have shown me that there is more than hatred. There is understanding, even in the smallest actions. Aaron nodded, watching the distant ships and glowing towers. It is possible, Myra. One choice at a time. One act of courage or compassion at a time. We may not end the war overnight, but we can change the hearts that guide it. She smiled at him, a mixture of admiration and gratitude. Then let us do it together, she said. Not as enemies, not as prisoner and guard, but as allies, as friends, as a bridge between worlds. He smiled faintly, the weight of responsibility still heavy, but tempered by hope. Together he agreed. Word of the Queen's decision spread beyond the chamber. Humans and Zoreth alike began to whisper of the soldier who stayed, not out of fear or obligation, but out of choice. Aaron became a symbol, not of conquest or revenge, but of honor and understanding. The path forward was uncertain. The war still raged, but for the first time, there was hope that it might end differently than history had always promised. As the night fell over the alien world, Aaron stood beside Myra, watching stars that both humans and Zoroth called their own. The bond they had forged in fire and conflict and trust and respect now carried the potential to shape the future of two civilizations. and as the stars shimmered above them, both knew that this moment was not an ending but a beginning anew. Chapter where courage, loyalty, and honor could redefine the meaning of war and peace alike. For Aaron, the human who had guarded the enemy's daughter, the journey had not ended. It had transformed. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a bridge, a symbol, and a force for hope. And in the eyes of the Zorith Queen and her daughter, he had proven that humanity could rise above conflict and become something greater than war. The future remained unwritten, but for the first time, it was filled not with fear, but with possibility.